Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of The Chop Zone. Thanks for joining us. We are here with our traders, David, who is a price action specialist, and Nigel, who is a bookmap specialist. So, we're going to have a lot of different points of view and information to share. We're coming to you from the Premium Tier Futures Discord, and thanks for joining. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
absolutely. Um, so let's see, Nigel. I know you did a big trade today. I think you captured like 20 points on that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't see any screenshots from you, which is fine. But I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about that at all, like how you got
Yeah,
into that
sure.
trade, or what
Yeah.
time you got into that trade, what your thinking was on that.
So I actually posted it in my channel on the Discord right there. Well, I'm not sharing my screen, but
Oh,
I
okay,
could look at it and kind of break it down right now.
that sounds good.
All
Do you
right,
know if
let's
you were
see
on
here.
the 1 minute or the 5 minute with that?
So Bookmap doesn't really have like a 1 minute or 5 minute scale, right?
Right.
It's basically you can kind of spread it out as far as you want, like it gives you more detail, or you could kind of look at a bigger time frame where, let's say you want 4 hours on the screen you're looking at, you could place that as like a setting,
Right.
and if you want to look at, let's say, 5 minutes, which would give you like 30-second slices, you would see like little slices in the heat map where you could go down to like about 5 minutes. You would see 5 minutes on the full screen. So the way I enter my trades is basically I'm looking at a 5 minute slice or like a 5 minute heat map.
Okay.
So it gives me like a 30-second slice. It's really hard to explain if I can't really point it out to you like on the screen, but yeah, it's
I know what you
basically
mean though.
like a
Yeah.
30-second slice. Yeah.
Yeah. And what time did you take that trade? Just out of curiosity.
So the time is, let's see here. It's roughly 10:25 Eastern time.
10:25. Okay, so that would be roughly 7:25 my time. Let's just draw on this arrow. So right about here. And remind me, did you go short or long on that?
I went short on that.
Beautiful.
Bear.
Yeah.
Wow. So I have, let's see, we're looking at 7:25 was right about here. You'll notice there was a EMA crossover of the VWAP, and it looks like it pulled back a little bit, and then it just kind of spilled downwards. Nice
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. The
I'm glad-
entry was 7,650, 7,600.50.
Oh, got you. You're on the rolled contract. Let me pull that
Yeah,
up.
ESU6.
September.
ESU6.
September contract. I saw that setup and it never gave me an entry. I'm so glad you caught that. That was
Yeah.
a nice trade, man. I was looking at the
So,
same thing, thinking short there, and it never set up for me at all.
so like, what's your criteria to enter? Because I have little criterias off of Bookmap. So what would be your criteria there?
The only thing I'm missing on that trade is a higher low on a 2000 tick chart. So that's what I trade, and it just there's just lower lows and lower highs at every single candle, basically all the way back down to 75.87.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
first
yeah,
little pullback I have on the 2000 tick, and that's what I trade.
yeah.
Looks
Yeah,
like
I waited patiently for that. It actually was like I trade Wyckoff levels as well. Like on the daily chart, I look at like it's basically like a little distribution we're going through at the moment. So I kind of label it in a Wyckoff kind of theme. and around that area was the buying climax of the distribution. So that was in play as well with the Camarilla R3 and the central pivot, which was around, let me tell you right now, it was around 7602.50. That was like the buying climax level.
Okay, I'm just gonna pull up that the R3 and you said R3 Camarilla, right?
Yeah.
And then
No, no, no. What am I doing?
oh, I need to have this go back. Let's go back. Number of pivots back. Let's just do 3.
Hey, what's up, Eli?
Hey, how are you guys
Here we
doing?
are.
Good, man.
Master
Good. How are you?
Blaster.
Yeah, doing good.
Master Blaster. Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've got Nigel in the chat with us. It's been a long time, man. I feel like we just got the band back
I
together.
know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to
Yeah,
have
for
you
real.
man.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were just going over Nigel's 20-point trade today, and he was saying that he took it off the R3 pivot, which I've marked here in blue, and you see this big pullback. It was about 10:25 Eastern, so it probably would have been somewhere in this candle right here. Again, that's R3 around 7603, and then just look at that massive drop. And he was saying there was a buying climax. Is that right, or an automatic rally or something in that area?
No, well, it's actually on the daily chart. The buying climax is around 7602, somewhere around there.
7602. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
What was your exit target?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Was that
So,
overnight low?
so I don't really have like set targets. I mean, I actually do have set targets as a bracket orders. And my full target is a 20-point target. So I don't really like place it. I kind of make every trade kind of the same. Sometimes I might adjust it according to the liquidity. And on this trade, it actually lined up with the big liquidity down at I think it was ETH low or yesterday's low or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 20 points was perfect, man.
Yeah, so that would have been about 7580, 7577.
Yeah, 75, 80, 50 was where I took profit.
Yeah. Nice. So that was kind of a R3 to probably S1, roughly. Maybe even a little bit past S1. Could have been S2 or but down in this range down here.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Because I don't have S2, like I only have Camarilla R3, S3. Like I don't put the S1, S2, R1, R2. I
You
don't
don't
do
use the
that.
ones and twos. Okay, let me turn those off.
Just
And
No,
then so you just have S3 and
mm,
R3.
yeah, because I'm looking for mean reversion. I'm not looking to really play inside the mean.
Yeah.
I haven't used camera pivot points in a long time, but I just remember R3 and S3 being the two most important levels.
Yep.
Yeah,
Seems like
yeah,
they get to
That's your
reject it the
most
most.
common range. You'll notice there was a daily
Mhm.
pivot right there at 7600, which kind of lines up with that
right,
7602 level.
right.
Big pullback. I mean, watching this, you would have thought that this was going to take off, and with the bullishness that's been in the market, I think we were,
Mm,
thinking, oh, has it corrected now? You got this kind of double bump right here, and I think I tried to get long in here. Um, we'll look at that later, but I think I tried to get long and it went up about 24 ticks and then it fizzled out and 16 ticks and 8 ticks and then break even, and it just drove me nuts, and I managed to flip the other way on that. But you can kind of see what happened with, this was just a big, I guess technically a mean reversion or a test of the range high of R3. Yeah,
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
All right, Eli, since we only have you probably for a short while here, I wanted to pull up your trades. I think I took a screenshot. Let me just see here.
I sent you one actually.
Oh, you did. Was it the same one that you posted in chat?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
cool.
just a better screenshot of the SpaceX.
Okay. Let's see. Is that SpaceX on the right there? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Does that look
That's
right?
one of them anyway. Yeah, this has both of them. I sent another one of the SpaceX with the final execution, but it's basically the same. But yeah, traded ICCN. That one didn't really work out.
Let's
It
see.
was fine. Took
Did you go
what's
long?
that?
Did you go long or short on that?
Short. I shorted it. Yeah, and it's I was small size. I lost half of what I initially planned to, so totally fine with that.
Nice.
Yeah, just had a lot of strength.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I notice with you trading the small caps, that you're really good with your risk, and you never let it go to 100%, minus 100% R. I think that keeps you out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, try to be. Um, yeah, SpaceX was the good one. It was the
Let's take a look at that.
it worked out well. In the end, I still finished red. Wasn't quite enough to push me above, which that's what I'm really working on is once I have a winner and it's going my way, I want to really start pushing size on those trades. And at least for me, it's like I try to get in multiple times and I'll take small losses. And then when it starts going my way, I know right away that it's working. And so and I kind of relax and I can tell that it's working. So why am I not pushing it from there? Uh,
If I had to
so that's what
guess,
I'm
and maybe this is just me, but when I'm in that situation, I start looking at the profit that I have and thinking, well, should I take 24 ticks or should I just lock in 16 ticks because I'm going to be bummed if it pulls out of it, right? Rather than just
yeah,
holding
yeah,
through,
definitely.
holding with your stop loss, not moving your stop loss, letting it test and then, continue. That for me, and I actually did that successfully today as just kind of a mental experiment, but it's really tough to do that. Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I hid my P&L for that reason, so I just keep it off the screen so I can at least try to just focus on the executions. But
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
it's always like it can bounce up on you. So you scale in too much, tighten your risk. It's just such a balance between over leveraging and risking getting bounced out versus trying to push size. So
Yeah, I get it.
still working on that.
I totally get it. There's this trader that I follow that live streams all his trades, and he's really good at that. And he has this rule that, like, once you add a contract, um, you place a break even, and then you just take the break even or it goes your way. And I don't know if I'm just late to adding contracts, but it just always seems like it would put me in a position where I might lose 3 or 4 ticks and get stopped out. And so
Yeah.
I haven't quite mastered that, but I'm kind of working on the same thing in terms of adding, just the psychological thing of being like, okay, if this takes me out of break even, I protected my risk and I'm fine with that. And that's tough for me.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of this one too. Part of my problem, I entered early. The initial. I took a really small loss initially, which I was totally fine with. The second entry though was just not great. It put in kind of a higher low there,
Yeah. I see
uh,
that.
and it was super heavy, but the volume was just insane. There was 200,000 shares at I think it was 192 or 193, and there was about 100,000 shares every dollar in there, so it's like
Wow.
15 million. Uh-uh.
Wow.
And
That's
yeah,
a
it was just
lot.
crazy. DOS started lagging when it finally broke right there.
Really?
Just so much volume. Yeah, 200 million shares traded today.
Is that a IBKR for data? with DOS?
No, this is DOS.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, sometimes there's just so many trades going through it. Just you know, the, the data, it can't
Oh,
handle the data.
yeah, the broker's Cobra.
Cobra.
I don't know who their data provider is.
Yeah. So looking at this, you've got the Bollinger Bands. You can see it retraced up to the midline, and it did kind of print a, reversal candle setup. This actually looks like a trap to me, where it pulled up, it pulled back, and then it actually swept the high. And then at that point, if the momentum was to the downside, then at least this low should have been swept, which it was. Boom. Little bit of pullback right there, and then all the way down below the lower Bollinger Band, and it looks like you took profit. Like, wow, you nailed the ending there.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
like couple minutes later it hit 187, but that was the low of day. Yeah.
good
So my
enough.
exit was pretty, yeah, was
Yeah, good
happy with
enough.
that. My initial plan was to wait till it broke below prior day low, which is the red dotted line there. Uh,
Gotcha.
my
195 ish,
initial entries weren't
or
quite there.
what?
Yeah, 195. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was so heavy. I was kind of kicking myself for not planning to take the full move, but that was the safer bet, I think. So
And what is, yeah, is this day 3 from the IPO?
four today.
Day 4. Okay, so we had 3 days of just up and up and up, and I know it was up in the pre-market, and then the drop. So I'm curious to see if this just pulls back and it takes off again, or is it going to kind of slowly bleed off? There's a lot of SpaceX employees, 4,400 of them, that are now millionaires. And the only way they're going to get that money is if they start selling their stock. I don't know what the rule is. I heard they were banned from selling right away. And I think that's
Yeah,
true for the institutions as well.
Months.
Couple
I think
months, you
it's
said?
6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's
Today
so
looks like it was the
fascinating.
lowest volume day.
Mm. Since the
So
IPO,
maybe
today
this
was the
pullback is
lowest
temporary.
volume.
Yeah, from what I'm looking on, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like at 200 million shares.
Which is
Still
Wow.
insane.
yeah, still a crazy amount.
I'm really happy that you took it short. I was looking at the gamma exposure this morning, and since we're going to touch on that later, and since we're talking about your trade right here, I actually had pulled up the gamma exposure for SPCX and for Micron. Let me see if I can get that here. And I was looking at it, and I didn't know if you were going short or long. I don't know if you remember I asked you what you're getting into this morning, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
SpaceX, and I could see what was it at in the pre-market or yesterday? Looks like it was what, up around 212, 215, something like that.
yeah. Opened at about 210.
Okay.
Pre-market about 214. Yeah.
So this is kind of like what I saw on the today's expiry, or maybe that's tomorrow. I think that's tomorrow's expiry. I think today's the 17th or 18th today.
Yeah.
Um, so bunch of positive gamma here. Dealers can dampen the moves and send it back and forth and just fill orders. But there was this big target right here, 9 million shares sitting there waiting to get hit. I'm going to assume that this was all green and that this was a green positive gamma magnet, and or it's possible that this was negative, but at any rate, this is the flip, meaning, if price comes down, it's going to be attracted to that 205 level. And if it gets into 200, 195, the red level, that's where the dealers start to get exposed to a lot of risk. And they're going to, start amplifying the moves. In a sense, they're going to have to actually chase the moves and play along with us, the speculators. Whereas up here, they can play against us. And the way they do that, if they're, for example, selling calls and somebody buys a call thinking it's going to go up, they'll hedge by, selling the underlying stocks and futures. So that'd be like SPY and ES. And they'll actually push it the other way to protect themselves from taking all that risk of selling that call, because if the call goes up, they're going to get slaughtered, right? And so there's rules behind that, and we'll jump into that a little bit later. But I just wanted to touch on that since we were talking about that trade. Did you happen to take a look at Micron as well?
Yeah, Micron. Yeah, if you want to pull up a chart, I didn't take the trade. It basically did what I wanted. It was my plan was for it to fall to about 1,000, and then I wanted to see the like a strong recovery over VWAP before I went long. And it almost did that, dropped to about 1014, and then recovered, and it did go up. It's like, I could have taken it technically, but the rally was kind of muted and it just didn't seem that strong. So
So
I
you're kind
just
of
skipped
talking
it.
about this area in here, where it was kind of like a little up and down, back and forth. It didn't seem like it had a lot of power to it.
Yeah, even lower before that,
Like,
like before 8. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
like
back
off
in
the
here.
lows. Yeah,
You can
it
see how
kind of
much
had a
it
push.
pulled back, and you got these doji candles. It's just kind of like a lot of indecision, not a lot of strength.
Yeah, yeah, kind
Yeah,
of chopped around.
yeah. So just looking at that, that's at about 10,041. Um, this little area of the pivot would be 1050. So let's take a look at what the gamma exposure was. So you can see this big positive gamma target. Um, this is kind of like a call wall. If price gets up into that and it acts as resistance, it can start slamming the other way. And if it gets into this red negative gamma, it can the dealers can actually push in the direction of the trend. And so you can see all of this red negative gamma got pushed through. And what did they end at? Let's take a look here. Yeah, 1040. Oops. Let's see if I can find that again. Sorry. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so there's a big minus 6.3 million. I'm assuming that means puts were for sale there. So that would have been a put wall that would have been acted as support. And you can see it kind of fell off from 1050, acted as resistance. Once it broke, shot down to 1040. And that's a good 10-point move if you're trading that without having any expectation of it going all the way to 1025 or 1020. You guys have any
Definitely had
questions
a
about
quick
that while
drop.
we're on the subject, or should we push that back to later?
For me personally, I'm not really too familiar with options, so this is very interesting. You're really breaking it down for me right here, so
All right,
it's
good.
cool.
Because I've set up some examples, and I was going to dive into that. Uh, Before we do that, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I just want to take a look at. I grabbed a screenshot of Dave's chart, and I just really liked it. I thought it just to show kind of what was happening from a different perspective here. Dave, you're still on the June contract, right? Or did you roll?
No, I rolled.
Oh,
I
you rolled.
rolled.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, where did it go? Yeah, usually I roll on Wednesday, but I didn't do it yet. It's ESU, I think. Yeah, September.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, so that was Nigel's trade. I'm just going to pull
Mhm.
up your chart here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I got a lot of lines on here.
You know what? You have a lot of lines, but it's super clean. And I love how you have this marked looking for a long prior daily
Yeah,
range, and you
that's
see
been
it,
there since we got up there. Yeah, for sure.
and
All right,
you
go
can
ahead.
see it did consolidate, and it did go higher, but sellers took it over. It looks like yesterday's low a day, overnight low. Once that got tapped, it came down. I remember watching this, and pretty steep. And I think where you got in, this is another gamma level. 75.25 was a really important gamma level for SPX, and there was about a 3 to 4, I think there was a
Uh,
3 to 6 point difference between ES and SPX. So not only did you have the 21 EMA, bottom of the prior daily range, we know there's a bunch of liquidity there, and looking at the gamma exposure, there was also a lot of dealer risk if it went below that. They weren't going to want to let it run. And I'm just looking to see if I have an example of that. Here's SPX. Oh, sorry, that's SPCX. That's not what I want. SPXW. So rolling over here to the today's expiry, 75.80. There was a call wall up here, or a point of control that was acting as a magnet. It didn't have enough strength, so the active level here, 75.25. This came into play later in the day, but originally what we were looking at was at 75.40. What was the point where it took off? Oops, sorry. Let's pull that back up.
when it reacted from the FOMC, it's like the 75.80s. It dropped out of.
75.80s. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. So going back to SPX over here, this is SPXW. So, like I was saying, there was a bunch of positive gamma, which means the dealers will hedge in both directions against the direction of price. So, if you were lucky enough to get in at 75.80 and just hold, you would have had a lot of up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And eventually, when it got to a certain level, you can see there's negative gamma right here, which they would have probably slammed through to get to this zone right here. Um, and eventually 75.25 became like the daily flip zone, and price really hung around there. It chopped. When it broke down, I think it broke down to 75.05-ish, and then boom, it just turned right back around, went back to that magnet. So that was kind of like the magnet on the daily. 75.20, so let's say 75.28 right in here, and then it kept going. How did we finish lower though, huh?
We did, yeah. It ended up bouncing back to the top of that daily range and then losing that all the way through. I think it was trying to fill a gap that we have from the roll gap,
Mm-hmm.
contract rollover gap. It was also whatever the deal they came up with over the weekend.
So would that have
So
been right around here, this wick where it turned around?
where? Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah. So that
yep.
took it back
Fell the
to
support down there.
yeah, S3, and then it fell off and came down even further. I mean, this is, that'd be tough to trade all that. A lot of chop happening.
Yeah, there
Just
was. It was a lot of the price action today was like just moving from range to range, and if you were patient enough, you could kind of time breakouts and failed breakouts, or play the ranges. Some of the ranges were large enough you could just play both sides. It was interesting how it was moving today.
yeah, I found
It
it
wasn't
kind of
like mixed. It was
slow.
just like consolidation and then
Mm-hmm.
move, consolidation, then move, consolidation, fail, then move again.
Mm-hmm. Really hard to stay in. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to have a lot of patience.
you can just see, right in here, there was a lot of positive gamma. And when we lost those levels, 75.30, we lost 75.20, came down to 75.10. There was this great big negative gamma magnet, and it hit it. I think it went below it. But that was just sitting there all session waiting to get hit. So I had a feeling it was going to come down and hit that. And what do we get? 74, 71. So that took it
Yeah.
out. Very cool.
Yep. And now we're right back up there.
Yeah, I know.
75,
It's reversing.
60s, 55. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I have a larger daily range charted, but I haven't rolled yet. So let's just take a look at what we got here. Okay, cool. So we've got a big move up, break a structure, test of the high, new high into a range. If I was going to mark this preemptively, I would probably do something like, well, just to be safe, let's say this. And then if it extends lower and this becomes the low, that's possible. You could also say maybe it's here. Wider range, it did test that midline if that's the case, but I think we're in a rotation right here. And also testing a previous range. So be interesting to see where it goes from here.
I have that range you just drew, but I have it the low of it slightly higher. So do you have the same? This is the same contract. Yeah, September. So I have the low of that range around 73.60 area. That one that you had just drawn in. Oh no, go back to your daily. The daily. Go back to your daily. Yeah, you're just drawing that range, and I thought the low of that range you just drew
Was
should
it
be somewhere around.
74, 69, 74, 71, something like that? You're talking about the first
I
range, the first range I drew.
That one, that range you're holding, the way you had it was
Mhm.
great, except for I had the low slightly higher. I had it around 73.60, and
73.60.
yeah,
So in that range right in there. Let's see if we
why
go
don't our numbers match up? 70. I literally at the low of it for me is 73.55.
right there.
But
Maybe.
it should be on the bottom of that other pullback. Oh, I looked away. 73.60 area. Yeah, I just have it going back further to like the mid-May. There's a pullback down there, and I felt like we actually met support when we came down there the first time again here in June. I feel like we did a break. We broke down out of that larger ring, but we've come back in and we've tested the other side, which is the top that you already have drawn.
Would that be this guy right here?
Yeah, it looks like it's actually, you see where the 19th of May is? It comes down right there.
Let's see, April, May.
Yep, May
19th.
19th. Now it goes straight up. See how it comes
Right
down
there.
to that point and then
Mhm.
reverses?
Yeah.
That's where I have the low of the range drawn to. I don't know
Gotcha.
why we have different versions 7412, but yeah. And I thought the high of yours was fine. I thought the high you had was fine, but the low there. So it looked like a false breakdown of that range to me.
Yeah.
That this most recent drops, and we've come
Yeah.
back in.
I like this because there's you got to push up, you got to pull back, and then you got a very clear push up and a Fibonacci. A lot of times these are 50%, 62% pullbacks that signal the range, and then obviously we tested the top, false breakout, tested it again. Down here, I see a lot of action in the midline, so I like that.
Yeah.
That reinforces that midline is correct. And look at actually where it ended. It tested the midline and
Right.
bounced off it. So yeah, I like that midline. I like how you I like those levels for
Yeah, it's
doing.
that May 19th low for to
Mhm.
crease that low down there. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're still chopping away, guys.
Yeah, we've got potentially a lot of chop can happen in here. We could test the low, we could test the high.
Sometimes those midlines hold. Sometimes those
Mhm.
midlines become the pullback and then it goes out. They eject out from there. Just
Yeah.
because there's so much value that's built up there anyways. Sometimes it comes back and tests the completely other side. Sometimes it just fails out the bottom. But
Yeah, I've been noticing that a lot. And sometimes we get these, rather than a full kind of Wyckoff range with like 3 or 4 bottom touches, we'll get like 2 and then a test of the midline. And that will kind of print more of a bull flag than like a full Wyckoff range. And that's just something I've been observing lately with the kind of bullishness to the market overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to pull up Sue's trade today. I know he didn't love it. Sue, if you're watching this, I just wanted to highlight that Sue practices really good risk. So he does. I think he only took, forget what his R was today, but it wasn't like a full shot.
Point
He managed
point
to get out.
5 or 0.55, I think it
Yeah,
was.
like 50%, which is kind of similar to you, right? Like you stopped at a 50%, and I like that. I think that's a good habit to be into. And I know he was trying to go long. I saw he posted a couple longs, and I was right there with him if I were just looking at the chart. But that's where I kind of started looking at the gamma exposure, and it flipped. And I got this actually like this AI warning from one of the gamma exposure platforms, and it was like sellers are now in control, and I'm like, are they? Because it looks like long to me, and I was really skeptical. I did end up in a trade that I was holding based on the gamma, and it pulled back a few times, and then it went. I was like, okay, cool. I'm starting to trust it a little more.
Hmm.
Um,
Looks like you took a trade right where Nigel got in. He got out.
yeah, yeah.
Same spot.
Yeah, he was
He
going
saw
long, and
he saw you
Nigel was
getting
going
in.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm getting out of the way of him.
yeah. But I think Sue has great reads on the
Yeah.
market. You just can't be right on all of them. So practicing, good risk is the way to go.
Yep.
Let's see. I have a few different things here. We were talking a bit about gamma exposure. So I don't remember exactly when this screenshot was taken, but you can see that there was positive gamma up here that price failed under. There was the gamma flip level, which is where it turns from positive to negative, which means it turns from less risky for the dealer to more risky for the dealer. And if it holds below that flip, then it'll go to the next big level. And so you notice there's a lot of negative gamma right here at 75.20. That would have been that 75.25 level that we were talking about. It lost it, went down to the put wall, and a lot of times these will act as support. This was 7,500, and I feel like, did we get all the way to 74.65 today? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think
Or was it more 74.90s?
yeah, I think we did.
74.71.
We have 7.
So,
Hey Jeremy, I got a question about
yep.
what you said about the dealers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, we know this game is basically like deception, right? So if I'm a dealer, if it seems that I'm at risk, right? If if I have enough money to cover that risk, can I bait people into that zone and then make a big profit in turning it around where I apply the pressure with like the money that I have to back it? Is that how that
Absolutely.
works?
Absolutely. And
Right.
I want to show you a more traditional heat map. So I've been trading AMC. I've been kind of just buying up shares and also buying calls and leaps. And so, like I was telling you, the positive gamma, the green gamma areas, that's where there's a lot of open interest. There's a lot of orders for the dealer to fill, but there's a lot of both sides. So they can safely go up here and they can sell a call and they can buy a call and they can sell a put and they can buy a put. So they're able to stay delta neutral in these green zones. And the brighter the green, the more open interest there is. So with AMC, it was just around $2 a day or two ago. It's in a positive gamma regime, so it's kind of like chopping around a little higher, a little higher, a little lower, and it's being magnetized towards this big area. This is a positive gamma exposure area, which means there's very low risk for the dealer, and there's a lot of orders to fill. So they're kind of pushing price. Every chance they get, they're gonna buy stocks and futures to push the price up until they can get into this area, and then they can safely fill a bunch of orders to either side, right? And I think that's what
Okay.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was listening to Anna Cooling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about like the SpaceX IPO, and she was saying that you should be very cautious with the options at this point because the dealers have very little information to actually create these options, and they would only create these options in their favor, heavily in their favor at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that or no?
Absolutely. And we can take a look at it. We're talking about SpaceX. So
Definitely makes a lot of sense since no one knows what the price really is.
Yeah,
They're just gonna
that's what she was saying. Yeah.
price
yeah.
them like crazy and take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. So think of the positive gamma exposure areas as areas where the dealers are safe and it's easy for them to trade and stay delta neutral. And the red negative gamma is where they take on risk and they actually have to hedge in the direction. So if price started to plummet, they would actually have to sell stocks and futures, which would actually cause the price to go down more to keep up with price. So wherever there's green, that's their safety zone. And so they're gonna push up into that. So this is SpaceX, right? Notice there's a big 9 million here. Uh, I don't think it's a coincidence that there's 9 million here at 210 and then 9 million here at 235.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're manipulating or this could be a hedge. This could be an institutional hedge, but that's basically a call wall. And so, the call wall would be kind of right in here for today. This is the I think the 17th and 18th. And then this is further out, so this would be the next month, right? This would be July 17th. So this looks like, potentially they could be planning to push it up as long as they're able to. And if they're unable to and price starts to plummet, I mean, the darker red will often it'll often act as like it'll repel price. So like if price was to come down here to 190, it would probably bounce up and bounce off that at first, right? But if it gets into these lower negative gamma era, these air pockets, it can actually push through really easily and really quickly, and then that would drop it down to 170. So we'll see if it hits 170 in the next month, or if it hits 235 in the next month. And I think obviously like 215 and 230, this whole section, if they're able to keep it price moving up, this will be kind of the zone that they operate in.
So I have another question.
Yeah, hit me.
If if up top is really green, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean like a clean trend, or does it give them opportunity to like chop at the top?
That's exactly right. It gives them an opportunity to chop and move price back and forth. So the green, they're dampening the move. Whatever direction,
Hmm.
like if you buy a call option, you're thinking price is going to
Hmm.
go up. They're
Yeah.
selling stocks and futures. They're selling SPY and ES futures and pushing price down against you because they don't want to. If that call takes off, they're taking on all that risk. They're getting exposed to all the risk. They're losing money while you make it. So they don't want that to happen.
So what constitutes a trend? What would it look like for like a trend up instead of chop?
Okay,
How would that look?
that's a great question. Um, I would look for areas that are not as dark, and I'm going to show you a different program I use for that because it'll make a little more sense. Let's see here. So this one changes the colors. You got positive gamma is listed in yellow and negative in purple. Okay, you notice the flip zone here, which is the chop zone. It came down, tested it, flip back the other way. So this was that 75-25 level. Now, if there was a sustained downtrend, you notice how there's not a lot of color down here to, in fact, there's this big, I saw this earlier and I didn't capitalize on it.
It's like a low volume gap, right?
There's an air pocket between
Yeah,
7,500 to 7,480. Notice it says PW, that's a put wall. So those will
right.
often act as support. And that's exactly what happened. It got all the way to 74, 71. But I mean, that's well within this area to test below and to come back. But so there's this big air pocket. So that's what you look for. Like, let's say price was coming down and it got to 7,500. Not a lot of support there. It's barely shaded. You can see the
Right,
minus 20% showing that people are actually getting out there,
right.
and if that didn't hold, that's a 20-point move. So that's a 20-point trend move. Same thing to the other side. So you've got this point of control up here, which was 75, 75, 25. So if they, and a lot of times these large areas of gamma exposure will act as support and resistance. So let's say it gets above this, there's nothing but air. So that's what a
Right.
trend, that's where a trend could happen real easy. And you wouldn't have a lot of pullbacks because it's negative gamma, it's amplifying. If price were to go in that direction, you got continuation, you could target 75.50,
Hmm.
which is a
So
20
what
point
I'm
move.
seeing is basically like it's the same principles as a volume profile, kind of.
Hmm. It's very similar.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
I think the
okay,
two
okay.
are intertwined. They're just kind of different perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
This factors in futures and options.
Yeah. How they all interrelate and how the
Mhm.
options
Yeah,
market affects futures and the underlying.
nice.
Yeah. Let's see what else I have to show you guys here.
Hey
I
guys, I
mean,
should call it here, and I gotta get some dinner and everything.
All right.
Yeah, same
Thanks.
here. It's 10
Yeah.
o'clock my time.
Thanks.
I gotta
Thanks
get
for
out of
joining
here.
us, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the input. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. It's always great to have you in here.
Yeah, good
Appreciate it.
talking to
thanks,
you, and
Elijah.
yeah, good having you on, Nigel.
Yeah, glad to hear from you again, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. Have a
Uh,
good night.
Later.
you too. Later.
Great night, guys.
Night. I just wanted to go over, this is one of the programs I'm using, GEX Edge, and I like it because they really break down kind of from an educational perspective, like what you're looking at. And so you notice they had 75.25 listed as a pinning zone, meaning price is going to get attracted to that. If it goes below it, it might get attracted back. If it goes above it, it might act as support or get attracted back. And so that 75.25 was in play pretty much all session, if I remember correctly. I'm going to swap back over to this one. This is the same. I think this was more towards the end of the day. And you'll notice when price lost the flip zone, which I like to call the chop zone, it was in that 75.25, 75.30 to 75.10 range. And it lost it and it bounced right off the put wall. Didn't push through it, at least not at first. And there was negative gamma down here, which amplified the moves in both directions, and it was able to push back higher. There was a big call wall acting as a magnet. You notice the dealers, it says dealer hedging suppresses upside. So they're not going to let it go past 7,600 today with this setup. It would have to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. Perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Cool, cool. Let's see. Let's take another look here. So this was at this would have been says 10:42 a.m. So probably 1:42 p.m. on the East Coast. 0 DTE SPX. The environment is pinning. Range can compress. Dealers are suppressing the moves. This is why I like this program so much, because it just explains everything to you. There was this pin at 74.95, so that's a good signal that price could potentially come lower to that level. The flip level was 75.36. That's just 10 points above 75.25. So these levels can change, right? And then the net gamma exposure, you notice here, it's green, 2.21 billion, open interest. That is a safe zone for dealers to trade. That's why it was so choppy. We were waiting for, was it FOMC today? I think there was a FOMC announcement, and Trump was supposed to
Yeah.
speak at, it was supposed to be 9:30 my time, so I think that was 12:30 Eastern, and then it got changed to 1:30 Eastern. He was supposed to speak at the G7, and so that was causing, there was just a lot of uncertainty. And also, like in the pre-market, there wasn't a lot of volume. It was under 200,000 lots traded for ES. So I wasn't going to trade today. But I started seeing these gamma exposure setups, and I was like, there's potential there.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Um, I wanted to say something about this, right? Because it actually gives like, I guess, predictions
mhm,
or like levels to look for. Right now I'm really big on spreadsheets. Like I want to really capture all my data and stuff like that.
cool.
And one of the things I look for is if there's a level like my Camaria R3 levels and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I have in my spreadsheet, I set um it's like little formulas to see how much that's actually tested, like in a month period or just in general, to try and get percentages. So if this is giving you certain levels, you could actually put that into a spreadsheet and make a formula to see how accurate it actually is over time,
Hmm.
you know? And kind of like, you could kind of build A plus setups with that information. So right now I'm in the process of kind of building a spreadsheet out, trying to get these probabilities together and kind of expand strategies. Like I have my core strategies right now, but I want to kind of expand into certain areas that I don't really participate in right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's why it's you're back testing and you're getting all that data on your personal setups. Um,
Yeah,
that's one thing I hear a lot of, it's like you can learn a technique from another trader or from a class, um, but it's really about making it your own. And that everyone at the end of the
right,
day, everyone trades a little differently, you know?
right.
And that just makes a lot of sense to me. So I think it's really great to get those numbers and back test in that way.
Like just like my trail and stop, right? I have a 6 point trail and stop. And what I do in my spreadsheet is I evaluate the trade and I look for the biggest retracement within the trade. Like today, my biggest retracement was like 4.5 points.
Hmm.
So that's another category I'm looking at to make sure my trailing stop is actually set for the optimum amount of profit, like overall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
one of the things I forget, are you using NT8, the NinjaTrader um, execution software or charts?
No, I execute on Bookmap
Okay.
and I use TradingView for charting.
Okay. There's this one feature that Dave um, got me a copy of, and it's the 3 candle ATR. And so I always look at that in the morning. I prefer to trade when the 3 candle ATR is only at like 2 or 3 points, and when it starts getting to like
Okay.
4 or 5, that means 5 points could take you out, right? Well,
Right,
when I
right.
looked at it
Yeah.
this morning, it was like 8.4 was the 3 candle
Wow.
ATR, and I was like, man, I don't want to touch this. And
Yeah.
And then I kind of forgot about it, and the way price was actually moving slowly and comfortably, so you could kind of get in and get out if you needed to. It wasn't like it may still move those 8.4 points on average, but
Yeah.
it was slow enough that you
Yeah.
could get out. But that's something, especially on a volatile fast day. That's a really cool
Yeah.
feature, and I think there's probably an ATR indicator in TradingView that would do the same thing. So
Yeah.
that's super
Yeah.
useful. I think there's one in Bookmap too. I mean, Bookmap has everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like my strategies is really developed for max pain. Like my strategies is I get stopped out really quick, really fast, and like for instance, like our trade was basically in the same area, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were going long because of the volume behind it. You could see the big volume coming in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm stepping in front of that. That's my setup. I'm stepping in front of that as soon as I see any weakness from the buyers. Because if you really look at what mean reversion is, you don't really get forewarning. You don't get that much forewarning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm stepping in front of a lot of trades where people might look at it like that was a crazy trade. Like how you going short right there? That's crazy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I just look at the market. It really looks like that. There is heavy volume, like it's like trickery,
Mm-hmm.
it's deception. They pump it to that level, gathering all the buyers that they could just to flush them out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I play the game. I play the game like if I'm part of the trickery and I'm seeing what they're doing and I want to just jump in with them, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think this is where
But it's
you
tough,
took
man.
I think this is where you took your trade today. Was it the 10:25 a.m.? Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so this is a perfect example of that. You had this chop zone, which was a gamma exposure flip zone. It was also, pre FOMC. You had a bunch of chop, and
right.
then you'll notice from like an anti-cooling perspective, um,
Yeah,
volume is decreasing on the buy side, right
right,
down here.
right,
That's
right.
that's
Yeah,
clear on the 5 minute, and then
yeah,
obviously you had this big capitulation, high volume. I think I
yeah,
was I think I was either in this trade or in this. It might have been this one a little later, but
yeah,
I'm gonna show you that. But yeah, the buy volume is going down, and then wham. I mean, this was probably took seconds. So we're looking at a 5 minute chart, but this wick probably, or this tail probably took seconds. I'm just
yeah,
gonna pull up my trades here.
yeah,
So I think I was around the same time as Sue. I was trying to get long, and this trade did end up going plus 24 ticks, and I didn't take profit. And I was in that zone of like, should I let it run? And then it went to 16, and went down to 8, and I was like, no, no, no. And eventually I got out roughly around break even, or maybe took a couple ticks. And this whole, like you'll notice, this is a 2000 tick chart. These can move in
right.
seconds. This whole move to the
Yeah,
upside, and this is VWAP up here, and this is also VPOC at 75.19, 75.20. Again, that's that
yeah,
75.25 flip zone I was showing you from the gamma exposure. So I'm looking at that. I
right,
know that's there. And then this took from 8:15 Pacific to 9:53. It's almost
right.
2 hours for each 2000 tick candle to print. I mean, it just took forever. And I was just sitting there. I get these like soft little pullbacks and be like, oh my God, it's going against me. And next candle kind of
Yeah,
chug, 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 chug. It was just going so slow. And I was like,
yeah,
the thing that really attracted me to this trade was it was forming up under VWAP. And I want to show you the trading view on this. Let's see. So this is September. I'm going to switch because I was on this one here and I have it marked. I just want to show because I was also watching the 1 minute chart,
yeah,
and this is roughly where I got long, right? And I'll turn up the volume so we can look at that. But there was this
yeah,
kind of double bottom reversal, this pullback, and so I got in long based off the there was a gamma exposure put wall there, I think, or possibly the flip zone. I forget what it was, but there was a level there
Yeah.
that could act as support, and it did, and it really started to kind of take off. Well, you notice like candle goes up, and then you get this like doji that like actually sweeps, and in this candle
Mm-hmm.
there's a tail, and then it started to really move aggressively. I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna hold this trade, and it keeps pulling back on me, but it's forming up under VWAP, right, and it's above the EMA, and it's taking forever to do it,
Yeah.
and it tests below, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
we're good, right, we're good.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that it did it again this second time, this whole section, and I really thought this was going to pull back to VWAP and it was going to take off, and
Yeah.
instead it starts dying. And right around here I get a pop-up on the gamma exposure, and they're like, the regime just shifted, the whatever
Yeah.
the call wall was here at 75.25, that flip zone held,
Yeah.
and now sellers are in control. So I stopped out and I waited, and I missed this first pullback because I was really skeptical. I mean, look how strong those two candles are, and then we get this
Yeah.
this consolidation, the sideways consolidation, and it's like short, short, short. So I think I actually got in like around here on that second pullback. It did pull back on me a little bit, but only like to the tune of maybe 8 ticks. And I was like, I
Yeah.
had a 16 tick stop loss in place. And I was like, I'm gonna just hold and let this play out. And you notice it was probably 10, 15 minutes that I had to sit through that. And then
Right.
it starts trucking. And we
Yeah.
get over here, and I think I got out around 75.03. So this candle actually came down, and I got out, and then it went up a little bit, and then it went wham. Look at that volume.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this was actually my target was 75.05 or 75.03, and
Mm-hmm.
I got out before it. Let me show you the actual trade. So on the tick chart, yeah, you see that little blue arrow at 75.09. That's where I actually got out.
Yeah.
But that was pretty close to a 10-point trade.
Right. Yeah.
So I was happy with that. And then when it started to pull back above, 75.09, I just went ahead and took profit. And I would say about 30
Yeah.
seconds after I took profit, it went blap. It just took out the low. It took
Yeah.
out this low, which I was fully
Yeah.
expecting. That's why I had it marked. But this, you can see I got probably less than half of that candle, but I would say more than half of the move. It was enough
Yeah.
to put me nice and green on the day. So I was happy with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
look
was
at,
cool, man.
yeah, look at the this is the jigsaw pace of tape gauge, and it is just all the way into the red RPMs. This is just sellers in control.
Yeah.
Usually you want to wait.
Maxed out.
Yeah, maxed out. It's probably more
Yeah.
than that. It hit the top of the bottom of the gauge there.
It can't even show you no more,
Yeah. It's like when you're going too fast in your car and your speedometer maxes out and you don't know how fast you're actually going.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like looking at the structure, do you have a live chart right now we could look at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's pull that up.
Yeah.
And you want to go to the current September expiry. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So this gray shaded area is going to be your pre-market or your ETH.
Yeah.
This would have been today's session over to the left. So this is where we are right now.
So could we see yesterday's session as well? I just want to check some out on this time frame, but put everything in perspective so we could see the ETH and yesterday's session.
Okay. So this would be yesterday's
Just wanna,
ETH, and this would be yesterday's session where it dropped off.
uh-huh.
You okay with the 5 minute, or do you want me to raise the time frame on that, just so we can?
The 5 minutes is good.
Okay.
So you see, like I always try to understand the market from a Wyckoff lens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we had today with that heavy volume is looking something like a selling climax.
Oh,
And the
you're right. Yeah.
response right now, yeah, the response right now is automatic rally territory,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I would expect tomorrow is another sell-off because they might be accumulating. So they rise prices in the ETH, which would be the automatic rally. we enter the RTH open, we get sellers again, brings us back down to like maybe let's say 7,500, maybe 7,480, and then we start kind of, I guess, pushing back up to create like a uptrust action.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow could be like topsy-turvy, like just how this V reversal is.
Mm-hmm.
We could get the same kind of stuff tomorrow because it will be automatic rally, secondary stop, and then they go up for the uptrust action. So that's how I kind of try and look at the market, because other than that, I don't really know how to basically put the structure or make the structure make sense.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the Wyckoff theory is like the most sense I can make out of market structure, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, yeah.
One of the things I noticed with these V reversals is once it gets above that shoulder, the left shoulder here,
Hmm.
so boom, reverse,
Yeah.
consolidate, right? So,
Right.
if you didn't catch it down here and you try to go long here, you're going to get chopped up because
Well, you're
now it's
done. You're
consolidating.
done.
You're done. And this could actually
Yeah.
go back and test the top of the range, or it could fail and come back and test R3 down to the daily pivot. That's
Yeah.
actually I think that's the scenario you're talking about. That would
Yeah.
be 75.20. I've got the middle of the range around 7,500. 74.80 was a big level. 74.71 was the low, I think. So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the potential for this to drop back, it's definitely there. Um, and
Yeah.
like you said, a lot of times when price goes up in the extended hours, it retraces during the regular session.
Yeah.
That's probably what
Actually,
90% of the time or something.
yeah, I asked AI, I was like, why does the session move like that? Why is it ETH might rise and then the RTH just dumps? And it said like it's basically dealer hedging, and they're balancing the market. In the RTH, they just rebalance the market. So if something happens in the ETH in the London session with the London banks,
Hmm.
they kind of clean up what they did, so to speak, you know?
I totally get that. So it's like it got too long or it got too short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see if I have this marked. Let's see here. Let's look at no, that's not it. So one of the things that I've been doing in relation to what you're talking about, um,
Yeah.
oh, here it is. Let me just clear some of this out so we can see it. So looking at the 4 hour in the pre-market, I mark the Asia session, the London session, and the New York session, how they open, how they close. So we're going to want to
Hmm.
take a look at, let's see, make sure we're on the 4 hour here. So this gray shaded area would have been the extended hours, and I
Yeah.
have Asia marked at 7 p.m., which is uh, 10 p.m. Pacific, and I'm sorry, it's 4 p.m. 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Asia usually opens at 5 p.m. my time. So this is a couple hours of Asia being open, and you'll notice it hesitated. There was a move down. This is the open, right? This is the 3 p.m. whatever day open. That would be 6 p.m. Eastern. You'll notice it
Yeah.
formed a doji and it hesitated, and then it started to come down. And then, so, I look at that 4 hour candle. Then I look at London at 11. I'm sorry, the 6 a.m. Eastern candle close. Um, London opens, I think, about 3 a.m. our time,
Yes. Yeah.
and
3 a.m. Eastern,
mhm,
Eastern time.
3 a.m. Eastern time. So
Yeah.
that's midnight for us, in on the West Coast.
Right.
So I look at
Right.
that candle. How did that candle open? How did that candle close? And then I look at how the New York candle opens at 10 a.m. So after being open for half an hour, the 4 hour candle, it was a little bit of hesitation, right? And so this is FOMC, this is Trump speaking, this is uncertainty in the
Right.
market. You had a wick to
Yeah.
the upside, a wick to the downside. There's some
Yeah.
traders that would just say, I'm done for the day. I'm not going to trade that because it's indecisive. But a lot of
Yeah.
times what happens is New York will reverse London, right? So you had
Yes.
Asia
Yeah.
coming down, and then New York tried to reverse it and it failed, and then it continued it, which is less
Yeah.
usual. I think that's only like 30% or maybe even like 20% of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time it'll reverse London, and in this case it continued Asia, you know, continued Asia and
Yeah.
London took us down. But I think that kind of ties in with what you're talking about. And I like to watch this candle at 10 a.m., like the first 5 to 15 minutes of how it opens. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of information there, and you'll notice it opened at the bottom of the previous London candle, and it moved higher,
Yes.
but it didn't close above the open of London. It
Right.
did test higher. We got a
Right.
wick, and it also
Yeah.
tested lower. That wick was longer, so that's kind of telling.
That's the trap right there.
That's the trap. And then the next
That's the
candle,
trap right there.
yeah, the next candle opened below both of those, right? It opened below the
Yeah.
close of London, it opened
Yeah.
below the or the open and below the close of New York. And so that was very telling. And then we got that just solid sell off on the 4 hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Yes.
man.
There's a lot of information, just on the regular charts as well.
Yeah.
In
Just
addition,
just from a just from a conspiracy theory point of view, I believe that the big banks, they move in concert, like European banks and American banks. They It's not like they really fight against each other. They're like, it's like an hourglass you keep flipping. They're like, hey, we gotta make some money, so we're gonna do this. And you gonna just clean it up. You're gonna make your money when you clean it up. And I think that's what they just do. They just flip back and forth, back and forth.
100%.
You know,
100%.
from a global economy perspective, they have to keep everything nice and neat and balanced. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And there's this crazy website I found. I think it is called www.blackrockvanguardwatch.com. And it
Okay.
is a listing of what the big asset managers like BlackRock and State Street are the biggest ones,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what stocks they hold in the S&P 500.
Yeah.
There's I believe as of right now there's 505 stocks in the S&P. I don't know why there's an extra five,
Yeah.
but when you look at who's holding what, you'll see that BlackRock holds 8 or 9% of Vanguard, and 6 or 8%
Mm,
of Bank of America. Bank of America
yeah.
holds 6% or whatever of BlackRock. Vanguard,
Yeah.
they all own each other, and there's a rule I
Right.
think with the banks. um, if, for example, BlackRock had more than 10% of the shares, if they own more than 10%
Yeah.
of the shares of, say, Bank of America, they would be under a lot more scrutiny and regulation.
Right.
And so one of the
Right.
things I found is the only one who's doing that is actually Berkshire Hathaway had like 12% of Bank of America or something. And I can check these numbers, but it was
Yeah.
so they're willing. Berkshire Hathaway was willing to say, okay, we do have a controlling interest in this bank. We're going to take the regulatory scrutiny, right?
Right.
And then these guys are
Yeah.
all, they're acting in tandem. I think sometimes they act against each other as well, depending.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is they exert pressure on the banks. So if BlackRock wanted to liquidate its position, they could give some sort of incentive to Bank of America to say, hey, do a call out, tell them to buy this stock, it's good right now, right? Tell them to buy
Right.
SpaceX,
Right.
right? And they're trying to
Exactly.
liquidate, right? And
All market making activity. Yep.
yeah, and then the
Yep.
brokers and the financial advisors, quote unquote, that are advising people like you and me, the investors, they're getting paid
Mm-hmm.
commission on how many of, let's say it's SpaceX, how many SpaceX
Mm-hmm.
shares they're selling, right? They make commission on it. So they don't necessarily care if it goes up or down because they're incentivized to make money just from getting us to buy it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So,
That's
I
we're
mean,
looking behind the veil.
yep, just to bring it full circle. That's why my strategies is always deception based. right? Because they're not going to just show you, they're not going to bring you behind the curtain, and no matter how much information you get, because we're in the information age. You have all the information, you have all the gamma, all that stuff is
Hmm.
there.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, big money moves it the way they want to move it. They could take on more risk and they make it so appealing, right? That,
hmm,
oh man, I'll buy the dip. I'm gonna buy the dip right here. But they could take a lot more pressure than you think. So they could just let that flush out, and just buy the real dippity dip, you know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Yeah, I
So
mean, I think
that's
SpaceX is
kind
a
of like how I look at it.
I think SpaceX is a great example of that. I had so many people hitting me up like, "Oh, you like to trade? Did you buy SpaceX?" I said, "Heck no! Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? I bought
You crazy.
Coinbase,
You must
right?
be crazy.
I bought Coinbase when it IPO'd, and I bought Robinhood when it IPO'd. I bought Coinbase at 380, and it didn't.
Yeah,
It fell off after a day or two, and it didn't hit 380 for
yeah.
4 years. I would have had to hold that, and then it only did it for
Wow.
like a few days, or like it was just a
Yeah.
spike up, and it fell off again. I think it's in the 200s
Yep.
right now. So we have this
Yeah.
big spike up. We have what looks like a bull flag. Then we have this sideways chop, and we lost VWAP,
Yeah.
tested it, faked out. Now it's back in the chop zone at VWAP, which is lost again.
Yeah. That
So,
uh,
we
for me, that this is really not looking great. Like there's a lot of hopium inside here. I know people are gonna hold and stuff like that, but this setup right now is not looking great at all.
mm-mm. No, I agree.
Not to me. I mean, like we've been trading so long that we know that if something like this IPOs, don't just buy it right out the gate. That's not a good idea, you know, because
Exactly.
you have to think about institutions want to load up at cheap prices. They don't want to start buying at 200. They want to buy below the IPO. Can we get this to 110? Can
Hmm.
we get this to 100? So that's how I look at it.
And
Because if
they're
I'm a big
buying.
player and I have money,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say the institutions are also privy to early auctions, right? They can buy
Right.
in bulk at wholesale
Mm-hmm.
prices, which they did prior to the
Mm-hmm.
IPO over here somewhere. They loaded up all the 4,400 employees of SpaceX who are now millionaires because they've been flipping their checks, a portion of their check into SpaceX options and stocks. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they did the same. They had early access. Obviously, the other
Mm-hmm.
institutions, obviously, SpaceX itself holds a certain amount of its own shares, as does
Right.
Tesla and Starlink and things like that. So
Yeah.
they got in over here and then caused this big buying spike. It pulled back a little bit, and I thought, oh, that's it. And it really surprised me. It took off, and so it's been like four days now since it IPO'd.
Yeah.
And look at that big wick on that candle.
Yeah.
We took
Yeah.
it from I guess it opened 150 and took it up to 225. It was 75 points,
Yep.
and then it
Yep.
fell off.
And mhm.
There was a
And
let's look at the
the thing
45.
about it is people think that institutions don't scalp, right? Their
Right.
scalping is a little different from our scalping. For them, this pump and dump that they're going to do, that's basically a scalp for them. This IPO to the 225, that's just basically like they scalp it. They just buy it up, they create the market, they push it up, and they just dump it at the top, and they know they're gonna get it back lower, right? Because
Right.
if you're the only power to buy, like if you have dominance in a market, right? You know you're the only person who can really push it. So once you stop, you take your foot off the gas, you know it's coming down,
Yeah.
and you can load up again, shake people out.
You can create the support level at whatever level you want as a large
Yeah,
institution. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Man, Jeremy, if I was a market maker, people would hate me, man. I'm telling you, man.
I hear
Because
you.
I do that dirty, man.
I hear you. I sometimes I feel like I'm acting like a market maker when I'm scalping, if I'm going for like
Yeah,
4 to 8 ticks and I'm just doing it over and over, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, man,
yeah, man.
it's fascinating. Fascinating
You know,
stuff.
you have we have 100 million in the bank, and we could just move and shake the NQ up. You know, we would do it. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even more than 100 million, like 100 billion. I mean, I read some
Right.
crazy number of the billions of dollars that trade off the S&P every day that market makers
Yeah.
are responsible for. And I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah. I don't think, like, you know, when you just get into the market, you don't realize how much power the market maker actually has. Like, it is not really a number they you could, like, it's not feasible. You don't really think like they could actually buy 100 million off the rip,
Hmm.
you know? So
And they
it's
do.
it's it's tricky. And they do.
And they're
There
hedged,
is
right?
no.
So if they buy 100 million, let's say of SPY,
Hmm.
and they're buying ES
Hmm.
futures, they
Yeah.
may be hedged with like puts in case price goes
Hmm.
down to offset their losses. So, you
Yeah.
let's just say a number like 100 million to the upside, they probably have 100 million, to the downside as well as insurance,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
they can do that and they can profit off those moves either direction really.
Yeah. Yeah. And they say Goldman Sachs is what, 99.5% profitable every year. So that's just power. It's not really, to me, it's not really trading skills. Like we use trading skills.
Right.
They basically use muscle, you know?
Yeah. They move it in whatever direction they want to
Yep,
go.
yep.
What did I say that was? BlackRock. Let's see if I can.
BlackRock and Vanguard.
Black Rock, Vanguard, and State Street. I think it was Market Watch. MarketWatch.com. Let's see if it comes up. Nope. Let's see. Black Rock. I'm just going to type in search for it. Actually, I have it saved, but I think it's in my MarketWatch.com. I think that might be it. MarketWatch. Oh, let's just click on it and see what comes up. Okay, no, that's a website. If you will bear with me for a second,
Yeah, go ahead.
let me see if I can get back to it. Let's see, how do I close this out? Exit full screen. Here we go. I'm just pulling up my
It's kind
channel
of
here.
like it's like the commitment of traders report is the same kind of thing where, you know, you get to see positioning,
Right.
but I guess that's more general. This is a little more specific.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't even believe like commitment of traders report sometimes. I think it's all propaganda.
I hear you on that. They're manipulating price to go in the direction they want. I found it. So it's
Yeah.
BlackRockVanguardWatch.com. And just the opening statement here, BlackRock and or Vanguard are among the three largest institutional investors. The other one would be State Street for 505 of the S&P 500. They're the largest institutional investors. One or the other is the single largest investor in 422 of the 505, holding 84% of the S&P 500.
Wow.
So if you don't think they exert control, and it addresses this. Why is this important? These two interwoven companies manage money for others. The big three, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, exert the voting rights attached to these shares, even though it's illegal for them to uh, technically influence the banks. Uh,
Hmm.
it says right here they have in fact publicly declared that they seek to exert influence.
They
So,
have to.
yeah, in the past, some have mistakenly assumed that our predominantly passive management style suggests a passive attitude with respect to corporate governance. Nothing could be further from the truth. that means not just the banks, but the companies that they own in the S&P 500, they're exerting their influence on those companies, and they have voting rights. So those three companies wield an enormous potential power over corporate America, and they forego taking large fees for having this ability to exert power over the economy. Why do they need fees when they can just manipulate the market, right? They can
Yeah.
make their own money. They don't need to get paid that way. Little public
Yeah.
awareness or accountability, and then this is where you can go down the rabbit hole. And I recommend you
Yeah.
you take this link and take a look at it. This is what I was talking about with Berkshire Hathaway. They own 10% of Vanguard, 8% of BlackRock,
Mhm.
5.9 of State Street.
Yeah.
And I think there's more. I think that this is actually zoomed out. Yeah.
I think I can't remember what I was looking at, or I was reading something today. I think the Fed was saying that, like, what the Fed does, right? I think the guy, what's his name? Who's the new chair?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget.
So they were basically saying, right? So basically the Fed kind of governs banks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a institution like BlackRock and Vanguard, once you get enough money in your institution, you start falling into governance by the Fed,
Right.
because now you actually have, because they issue the money. They basically say this is our money that we're issuing. So you have so much of it, you're now under our authority. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe a lot of these things happen behind closed doors. Like, they would call in BlackRock for a meeting. And I don't believe, if the Fed tells them this is the direction we want to go, that BlackRock could actually put up opposition to that. Like, no, we're not doing that. I don't
Right.
think that's how the financial institute, because the Fed is the head of all banks.
Mm-hmm.
So anything bank related, you would have to kind of play along with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they
So
definitely have
yeah,
say, but you're right. Yeah,
yeah,
the Fed has their say at the end of the day. I have BlackRock pulled up right here. You'll notice that they own part of Vanguard, they own part of their own
hmm
BlackRock, and then State
yeah,
Street, and then they own 3.84% of Bank of America. Now this was higher last week or a couple of weeks ago when I checked. So they're constantly
okay.
trading it. Um,
So I guess they
but
dumped some of that.
they dumped some B of A.
Oh, okay.
Goldman Sachs owns Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Massachusetts Financial
Yeah,
Services. That's probably a asset manager. Um,
right.
Union Pacific. Is that a bank? Um, I don't know what.
I think it is.
Anyway, they own Bank of America. They own BlackRock, Vanguard.
Mhm.
It just goes on and on. Charles Schwab.
Yeah.
So definitely take a look at this.
And these companies you're calling out, right now, like where I work is in the financial district in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's all around me. Like, Charles Schwab is just down the block, and it's a big black building. Like, the whole building is just black, you know?
Oh wow.
So these guys are around here, man. You could see sometimes, like, when things are going on, you could actually see the temperament of these players. They're actually in the street walking around. You could actually see when stuff is going on in the market, where they have certain, like, temperaments. You know what I'm saying?
I do. It's like that pizza thing with Washington D.C. when there's going to be like a war or something. All of a sudden, people are working late
Yeah,
hours, and all the pizza delivery
yeah,
people get, they get busier, right? And they track that,
exactly.
and it's the same thing. You see all that activity on the streets. You probably see a lot of Uber Eats and things like
Yeah.
that delivering food.
And
That's cool, man.
you know how I gauge, like, sometimes there's trouble in the market? Well, I could already know it because I'm a trader, right?
Hmm.
But if I wasn't trading, sometimes you see these clients start to come into the institutions, right? And they're worried. These people who are managing their money, they have to kind of console them. Good night. they have to console them and kind of smooth them a little bit because they're starting to worry. They want to kind of get out, like, well, are we holding this? What are we doing? So
Mm-hmm.
you can see when a bunch of them start coming in for meetings and stuff like that, you know it's actually pressure on like a BlackRock or whoever they have their money in,
Mm-hmm.
that they're putting pressure on the manager to actually like what's going on? Can we just close this up because they're losing money? Or
Yeah.
so they think, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're like, what's the plan here? You know,
Yeah, exactly. They want to know what's the plan?
like we're on the same team. Why did you sell all of our, half of our stock that you were holding? That makes us look bad. What's going on here? Oh,
Yeah,
you got to play the long game. They got to talk them through it.
right.
Yeah,
Yep, they gotta talk him through. Yep, yep,
man, good stuff.
yeah,
You know what? I'm gonna take us out here, but I'm not cutting you off. I want to keep talking if you're free. But I'm gonna take us out because we've been on for an hour and a half. This might be the longest one we've done. So thanks
yeah,
everyone
man.
that hung out for this whole discussion. We appreciate you guys. Please hit the like button if you liked what you hear and see, and feel free to subscribe. We are coming to you from the Premium Tier Futures Discord. You can find me at Phil's Jackson on X or at Premium FTS. And also, this will be playing on at the Chop Zone TV on X and YouTube and Spotify. And so feel free to check those out. And we really happy to have Nigel here from I believe is it Malak Shalomo Trading LLC. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Malek Shalama Capital LLC.
That's what it is.
You can find that on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah. So feel free to look us up on X. And thanks again for watching. We will catch you guys on the next